What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and I've got to say, pretty much saw this coming a mile away. Now, the second piece to the Eternals disaster will, of course, be the box office, because we all know that while critic reviews are fun to discuss, they aren't necessarily predictive of whether or not people are going to pay money to see a movie. The Eternals, to me, always felt like this movie that was being forced out by the MCU because they ran out of ideas. I don't think they actually had a plan in place for Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and all these characters kind of disappearing. I really think that when you look at the slate of Phase 4 Marvel, whether it's Miss Marvel or, The Marvels, or, all the pushbacks and Black Widow being totally out of place, I really thought that the Eternals was going to be a real stinker. And it's not even because I dislike the Eternals. It's not because, there's like some actor or actress on the show that came out and disparaged fans. It pretty much went relatively under the radar in terms of any type of controversy other than the director themselves, because the director that they picked virtually ensured that the Eternals would not get shown in China, which has been absolutely devastating for Disney. The Eternals almost certainly will not be shown there, given the director's anti-China comments, and I do support those, but the reviews are out. And this is one of the worst Marvel movies ever. Perhaps, I think, the second worst in terms of critic reviews. You see Scott Mendelson, the Eternals review, Marvel tries to make a DC Films movie. More than any other Marvel's movie since the start of this whole MCU phenomenon, director Chloe Zhao's Eternals feels like just a superhero movie. Kevin Feige's Marvel superhero movies have to various degrees differentiated themselves from each other and from the competition by appropriating various genres and selling them as superhero plus action spectacles. Captain America, The Winter Soldier is a Tom Clancy-ish spy thriller. Ant-Man is a heist flick. Shang-Chi is a fantasy. Eternals, comparatively, it just presents a century-spanning story of celestial super beings whose defining attributes are their immortality and their arbitrary superpowers. At its worst, it plays like exactly the kind of run-of-the-mill but about superheroes franchise starter that Hollywood has doomed itself trying to craft in the wake of Batman Begins and the Avengers. At the best, it's actually a metatextual approximation, not of any genre, but of a rival brand. In a skewed, subtle way, Eternals plays like Marvel trying their hand at a Zack Snyder-ish DC movie, by the way, and failing. Eternals is an ambitious digression from the MCU core arc. I'm happy Zhao got a fat studio paycheck, even if I wish the film were more compelling. It looks lovely, but the action is generic and repetitive. You could say that about most Marvel movies. It looks lovely. The characters are mostly defined by their superpowers amid a backdoor pilot story. It lacks a compelling villain and creates a save-the-day conflict just in time for the third act, while banking on a unsubstantial movie star charisma. More than any other previous MCU movie, Eternals feels like just a superhero movie and we're running out of characters movie. Both credit cookie scenes will require an explainer, and the first one reeks of the kind of desperation I've never seen Hollywood's biggest franchise, considering the years of DC Films versus Marvel online hand-wringing to the point where Hollywood burned itself down chasing Marvel's triumphs. It's quite ironic that one of Marvel's biggest misses was an attempt to mimic their biggest rival. Yahoo review, Marvel's overstuffed Eternals, a star-studded exercise in superhero excess. I didn't just kind of pick the negatives. If you look, the film, it did bump up. It was at a 71 the last time I looked, but now it's eked up to a 73, which is still pathetic. If we look at just the Marvel movies, not movies on TV, let's just the 33 Marvel movies, okay? Now, we start with the unreleased, the Marvels, which is going to tank. It really should be called Captain Marvel 2 or something. It's like the whole, Harley Quinn debacle, I think. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 isn't coming out to 2023, which I think means it's going to have a really muted box office because it's just too far out. Doctor Strange, 2022. Don't care about that. Thor: Love and Thunder, perhaps, I like having Christian Bale in there, whatever. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, another whatever. That's also mired in all sorts of stuff. Anyway, let's get to the actual movies that have released, okay? Black Widow was the last main release, receiving a 79 certified fresh from critics. Now we see the Eternals at a 73, which, by the way, 2 days ago was at a 71. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings getting 92%. Spider-Man No Way Home, not yet reviewed. Captain Marvel, 79%. Only slightly better than Captain Marvel. Avengers Endgame, 94, 90. Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is super mediocre, even got an 87. Black Panther, 96. Avengers Infinity War, 85. Let's look at like some of the poor performers, okay? Guardians of the Galaxy 2, poor for Marvel, by the way, 85. Okay, that's not great. We can go down to Avengers Age of Ultron, which many people would argue is the worst Marvel movie other than maybe the original Hulk. I don't feel that way, but it was reviewed that way at a 76. Ant-Man, 83. Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, 92. We can get into Iron Man 3 in the 79s. Not until Thor Dark World, by the way, which is a certified a fresh at a 66. It barely eked out Iron Man 2. Barely, and it's likely to drop below. And the Incredible Hulk at a 73, it is one of the worst, if not, we don't know once the critics, all the final reviews come in, could be the worst rated Marvel movie in history. It's certainly the worst rated modern Marvel movie. And it's a predictable complaints, even though good reviews aren't that good. 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10. A disappointment of cosmic proportions. Eternals never takes off due to a pedestrian script that wastes a galaxy of talent. A convoluted cosmic misfire and one of Marvel's dullest efforts in years. D+. The weight of complicated exposition weakens the energy of the Eternals a little too often. It's at its best when the focus is on the Eternals recreating their family, the humor of it, and the passion when they fight for each other and things they love. 2 out of 5. Eternals may not be the worst of Marvel's movies, but it's undoubtedly the most disappointing. Boy, does this patchy, paceless film go on for an eternity. And I don't even have anything against the Eternals. But this is what I'm talking about, which, I do think that superhero fatigue is playing a factor here. I think that the gloss is kind of off the superhero films, especially after they lost all that momentum during the theater shutdowns. Like, Black Widow is a fine movie, but I think, it probably would have been in the mid-80s if it dropped at the height of the popularity of Marvel, because people were a lot more forgiving then. It's consistently engaged in this kind of grit tooth authenticity theater, going out of its way to show you it's doing all the things proper cinema does, even though none of them bring any discernible benefit whatsoever to the film at hand. Again, the good reviews aren't even that good. 3 out of 5, 6 out of 10. Eternals is a mess from Polygon. IndieWire says, can't these movies do anything else? Is it too much to ask the most dominant kind of cinema on the planet to shake things up and challenge itself in more significant ways? Again, the Eternals might be an okay Marvel movie, which, in my opinion, almost all Marvel movies are okay. I don't think that there's one that I have seen that I've absolutely hated. I think, there are ones that were good. The first Guardians of the Galaxy, I think Doctor Strange was pretty good. Infinity War and Endgame, both very good, although too long in my opinion. And the rest of them are just meh. That's what Marvel movies do. They turn meh into billions. One of Marvel's most ambitious movies in years, and its weakest since Thor Dark World. You walk out of in depressing realization that you've just seen one of the most interesting Marvel movies Marvel will ever make, and hopefully the least interesting one Chloe Zhao will ever make. That doesn't even necessarily make sense. Again, here's a 5 out of 5 from Mama's Geeky. Unlike anything ever seen in the MCU, the story is dense but allowed to breathe, visually stunning, epic action, and emotional story. 100%, 5 out of 5. I have zero interest in paying to see the Eternals because I don't care about them. It's just, and again, it's so weird. It's nothing personal. Like, I don't have anything against these particular actors. I thought it was weird that Angelina Jolie's in it. That's a weird thing for me. The weight of it's just all these negative reviews coming in. This movie, is it the beginning of the end for the MCU? I think they're going to have a dark winter coming up for a while now, because we've got the last Spider-Man movie, which I think will be well received and will make a lot of money, but that's a Sony property. What do you have coming out? What do you have to look forward to in the MCU? The Marvels? Nobody's looking forward to that. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I guess. Doctor Strange is one that I'm looking forward to. But again, I thought that, the whole Vision story that Disney Plus put out makes me less interested in what, Elizabeth Olsen's, character does. It makes me less interested because I thought that was poor. Thor Love and Thunder is just going to be another like goofball Thor movie where everyone's just cashing a paycheck. There's no real stakes in that movie, so whatever. Black Panther, I mean, without the main actor, without actually Black Panther in it, don't care. Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, I like Paul Rudd, but don't care. I mean, and by the way, this is all we have. The Eternals is all we have until 2022 when you get Ant-Man, which is mediocre. It's good for some laughs and whatever, Again, a Black Panther-less Black Panther, Thor Love and Thunder, and Doctor Strange. I mean, you'll have 4 in 2022. I think that's probably good. But, man, it seems like there's more to... Oh, I guess, no, we're going to have No Way Home at Christmas. I forgot. We're going to have No Way Home. So that will help a lot. But overall, I think Marvel's in big trouble. I'm interested to hear what you say in the comment section down below. We'll talk to you again real soon.